And hello, welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier once again, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy. We are back again today with Star Trek Adventures Aegis. Glad to see everyone coming back. For those interested, or for those perhaps looking for another way to fill the week, I would like to note that this coming Wednesday will be the premiere of the Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword campaign. That will be airing at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday nights. So if you happen to have the free time for a few hours that evening, or whichever time zone you are in, then by all means, feel free to see what our new, mostly Klingon crew is up to. But to more immediate concerns, we are going to pick up from where we left off, which does take us back to Alpha Centauri, where, as the crew departed from a or departed from a bar where they had gathered some intelligence on the current situation here, it sounds as if Governor Slocum has indeed left this planet a bit disaffected with his move to declare independence. There may be some friendly to the idea, but a little less friendly to him, as you may have picked up. Nonetheless, there's enough backing that he's staying in power between the Tellarites and at least some of the militia. Among the people that maybe didn't seem so happy was somebody that the doctor met, one Roger Kent, who he seemed interested in a group of very well-dressed humans that when you approached a checkpoint manned by a mix of Centauri Militia and Tellarites, it seemed that he was prepared to offer you an alternative. That alternative took you down an alleyway into an area where it turned out you're effectively ensnared by a group of people that are lightly armed but still armed enough to cause problems for you. And so I think that is where we will pick up for the session today. As further frame of reference, Captain, this is somebody that, if memory serves, you had at least given the story, albeit with the signaling that it wasn't necessarily, or there was more to it, that there's something else that wasn't quite above board about the trip to an ice planet that you were taking, with Shira as the guide and everyone else as sort of people involved in a research team. Would that about sum it up?
Indeed.
I thought as much. So, all of that said, Kent has been looking over you as he is steadily piecing bits together. At this point, the group of what you would guess to be partisans or some associates of Mr. Kent's have what appear to be older style EM44s trained on you. They are still like a particle weapon, but they are not quite as accurate as phase pistols. They fire more in like the individual plasma pulses as opposed to the coherent beam that you've been trained with the phase pistols. As Kent has pondered this idea, looks and says, "Well, whatever the situation is, I've already got the strong feeling that you're not looking for Tellarite entanglements any more than we are, but same token, not sure that I can quite trust you. Frankly, I think we need you in a position to cause as little trouble as possible, so unless you want to turn back around and take your chances with them, you can come into my care and we can try to sort something out. There's going to be conditions with that, of course. Primarily, if you got anything that you don't want the Tellarites known about, then it's best you show your hands, as it were, and hand over anything particularly troubling."
Uh, your call, boss. I'm happy to go whatever way you are on this one. I figure we can reason with these people.
Barton nods. With respect, Mr. Kent, I think we'll keep our more troubling equipment to ourselves. We're not here to start any fights or anything like that. I can promise you.
Hmm.
But
At least manufactured.
we did come prepared to defend ourselves. should the need arise. He says, looking around at the people leveling weapons at the group. Still, I don't think it's you we need to defend ourselves from, should that unhappy eventuality come to pass.
Going to ask you for the first roll of the session here. Give me a. I'm going to call this a presence and command. I'm going to put this against, instead of the usual insight and command, this will be a contested reason and command roll here to discern whether he trusts that, essentially. So
I'm rolling presence and command.
you are.
Okie dokie. Ba 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 ba.
So that will be
All
against
right.
a difficulty of 1.
Okay. I have a focus in diplomacy. Would you say that applies to you?
I will give that to you.
Okie dokie. All right. Task roll. No increased complication range.
Uh, Indeed not. Your complication range is at the base level of 1.
Coolio. Right. That is
Okay,
3.
that is 3, so that is going to give you 2 momentum. It occurs to me that our one absent player for the day is our usual momentum officer, so whom would like to accept the momentum this afternoon? Evening or morning, depending on which time zone you are playing from.
I'll take it.
Spectacular. Lieutenant Shira is the designated momentum officer for the session. So, with that, Kent is going to rub at his beard a little bit. He really doesn't like the idea, but he comes back. Suppose if things do get a little bit sticky at some point, then it's better not to have a situation where you're in a position of liability, unable to defend yourselves. All right then, Captain. I'll give you that. But there's one condition I do have to insist on. He pulls out what appear to be a series of strips of dark opaque cloth. I am gonna have to ask you to take on a blindfold here. Similarly, if there's anything you're carrying on you that might be used for tracking purposes, then I would strongly consider yielding that at the very least. Something that, in case there is any sort of active signal, I'd much prefer that we at least keep that on the down low until we're able to get to a relatively safe area.
I don't think we have any like tracking equipment on us. Like, I suppose in an emergency, our scanners and stuff would be able to do that. But,
Yeah, the communicators would probably be the most apt technology as far as that goes.
right. But considering we don't really have a friendly ship in orbit, there's not really anyone to track us.
If that's the case, you can feel confident enough saying that there is no reason to at least accept, or like to need to give up any sort of equipment, or that you have none you think would apply. The question is, though, do you accept the blindfolds?
What does everyone else think?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seems like standard operating practice
All
on his
right.
part.
A reasonable precaution, Mr. Kent.
With that, he will hand one off to each of you, and you will get the sense of like some other motion as a member of the group that Kent has around him is going to each going to basically step just behind you and like place a hand on your shoulder and start moving you along here, basically.
All right.
And so, yeah, the walk that you take is a little under a half hour's worth of walking. Eventually, you are guided into what appears to be or what you would guess is some sort of vehicle. As you are, they gently lower your heads down, have you go into a seated position, and you get the vague sense of movement. It's maybe another 10-15 minutes or so of that before once again you step out onto what appears to be some sort of dirt road. Everything is relatively opaque in terms of the visual. If any of you would like to try and gain some insight into surroundings as you move, I will give people the opportunity to say roll. I would say either security or science and insight. And since we are operating without a
Yeah,
blindfold,
I'll do that. I mean, I've got antenna and all.
yep, we'll be moving over to a theater of the mind here.
Could just put up a blank screen. That way, everyone's blinded. Has got a blindfold on.
Ooh, immersive.
Yeah, this is now.
Everyone turn off your computers.
Everybody set the screens to. No, everybody playing and watching the stream, place your palms over your eyes.
Yes, actually blindfold yourself.
Yes. Now that you are good and blinded, roll your d20s.
Yes.
Yes.
What did you roll? I don't know.
Justice is blind, not the GM.
I'm pretty sure I've rolled 2 natural ones there, so therefore.
But
no. So what am I? It's insight, security. What's the difficulty?
yes, an insight and security task. I'm going to rule that the difficulty is 2.
And are we all making this roll?
Anyone that wishes to do so may make that roll. You may alternatively use science as a discipline for this. You may get very slightly different things.
Would my survival help me at all?
I think that would actually help you in this situation.
Okay. Roll. No, it doesn't.
Oh dear, so that is our first complication for the session. First off, I will tell you that does not completely succeed, but before I give you results there, I'm going to ask, would you prefer to see about buying that off with momentum? Would you rather accept a narrative complication? Or would you prefer to just give the GM some threat?
Go narrative this time.
All right. I suppose I am actually going to do a fun thing and give this a roll for a high or low here. And since we are going with Star Trek Adventures here, keeping with the theme, the low rolls will be better and the high rolls will be worse. Here's the ASMR stream you wanted. Okay. Shira, you attempt to get some sense of your you attempt to gain some sense of your surroundings once you exit the vehicle. There's a vague sense of like more kind of dirt road elements, and there's kind of you get the sense there's the heavier sound of like a metal door being opened. Like there's a loud screech as you are exiting the vehicle. Unfortunately, before you can get more of your bearings, there's a slight stumble on the part of whomever was helping you out as they fall backwards, and with an arm like trying to guide your arm, they inadvertently push you forward. So that is, I think, going to be. I got a 19 here, so I have to roll some damage for this, I think. And we'll borrow roll 20's virtual dice for this.
Damage.
Yeah, it's they basically inadvertently throw you forward a little bit. And this is expressly for Shira.
A bunch of pointy sticks.
Rocks fall.
Actually, wait, that should be a d6 rather. Well, you are in luck because 3s and 4s do not count. You do take a bit of a roll as you are prone, but your training in the Imperial Guard has taught you well enough to avoid the worst of any potential damage. You sort of tuck in a little bit. move your antennae forward and like curl them in so that they are less likely to get caught on anything or take any sort of damage. And you effectively roll. You probably got a little bit scraped up, but it's not likely anything that would have like broken the skin on the surface or that you'd be bleeding or anything. The worst you might have is a very slight bruise on like a leg or something that might have when you initially got stumbled. Let's say that you probably first landed on a knee, but you managed to do so gently enough that you didn't seriously injure it. No sprains or anything. It's just a like there'll be something that wells up a little bit and maybe turns more of a shade of purple later.
Oh, you're already starting to play rough, huh? Yoda says on the ground.
You hear somebody stumble up. It's like, oh shit! I'm so sorry. I didn't. I really didn't mean it. Oh jeez. Oh man.
Yeah, sure. That's what it is. Oh, it's just an accident. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I help you up here?
Well, yes, you can.
Yep. He'll grab he'll uh grab hold of your arm, like clasp a hand of yours, and like pull you up, and just hear, "Do be gentle there. These are our guests. We got a better standard than Slocum, and certainly than the Tellarites."
Is everything okay?
Oh, one of them just accidentally tripped me.
I tripped
How nice.
too.
I'm
Mr.
sure
Kent,
it's
are we nearly there?
all just an accident.
You don't see anything, and you probably don't necessarily hear the palm of Roger Kent's hand meet his forehead, but there's definitely a face palm there. All right, well, if we're quite done with the Benny Hill nonsense, then I'd much prefer we get this inside and get everything set up. The away team, their captors, and Kent fast forward their way inside just as a set of police inspectors are traced by a gentleman in a gorilla suit. I cannot play yakety sax on the stream, I'm fairly certain, so we're not going to do that. Anyway, you're escorted inside. Shira, you do at least get with the help of your antennae, you do get a sense of a little bit of an echo. You do traverse a fairly large room on what you would guess to be a concrete floor. That eventually, most of you can discern that after passing through another door, there's kind of a narrower way that you pass through. This will continue for a few minutes as you make your way through what you believe to be some sort of corridor until you are eventually let off in a room. And Kent says, "All right, blindfolds can come off."
I shall remove mine.
Uh, the others will.
Yeah.
Yep, the other personnel will, or people in Kent's care will steadily start taking that off. You see what appears to be possibly an old bit of it's like a very large storage closet would be the best way to describe. There's very little in the way. There's like nothing really in the way of windows. There's a few fluorescent lights that seem to be on. Quite a few boxes and cargo containers, all of fairly small size, and several of them that are open appear to be empty. The room appears to be like relatively sparse otherwise. Well, if you care to give
How
us,
many of these partisans are there?
there might be a couple that are just leaving the room at this point, but there are 3 immediately in Kent's company here. Gonna have to give us just a little bit while we get a few things squared away. Until then, the 6 of you can get acquainted. As he says that, you do actually notice that somebody is peering around from near the other end of some of the boxes. And this would be where, Brian, I ask you to describe your character.
Seem to be
Sorry,
muted.
I'm sorry. I was on mute. I didn't want you hearing.
Yep.
So the picture is pretty accurate. The one down that says Aleska Romanov. So appears to be a redhead between 20 and 30. Somewhere. Sorry, 25 and 30. And can you tell me what's going on? I see these people in Starfleet uniforms being led out of vehicle blindfolded.
No. So you, as near as you can tell, are presently you're in some sort of like storage surplus type area, some sort of back alley type place, as far as you know. Like a complex of sorts. Um, Probably used to hold and like process goods, like the delivery of some goods for other parts of the colony. Like more, think essentially a hub that's located a bit closer into the town as opposed to right by the starport. This will also give the idea for most of the players. You have been you were placed in here a little while ago, I'd say. After the time that you'd spent here. Um, Rather than being in Starfleet uniform, there is the crew that shows up happens to be well, it's less I guess that they would be crew necessarily, and more that they are well, you can at least discern that the group is mostly human. They all seem to be fairly well dressed, actually. Like most of them are in quite dressy clothing. With the exception of what you would probably recognize to be an Andorian, who came in with I believe, like a tank top and some fairly simple utility pants of some sort. Would that be it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Now, these
Yeah.
guys look really clean, nice clothing. I kind of figure right now things are probably pretty tough we're on Alpha Centauri, right? Correct?
That
And
is
it's
correct.
and it's a bit of a standoff situation between the Tellurites and Earth. So I suspect things are probably, pretty difficult on the planet, right? So if these guys are really well dressed and clean, does that tell me they're probably off-worlders or arrivals?
I mean, that would certainly make sense here. The Aside from maybe a slight coating of dust that some of them might have taken on from the starport, this is either what would appear to be a group of academics who came at the exact wrong time and were expecting to meet with somebody fairly important, or perhaps it is the worst disguised covert ops team ever.
I'd like to make maybe some kind of roll to assess if they're carrying any technology on them that would tell me a little bit more about them.
Let's see. I think that this would be. So far as I remember, everybody was taking pains to hide their equipment, so this would probably be. This would probably be an insight and security, actually. Anyone that wishes to contest may do so. I think that since you've taken efforts to hide your equipment, I'm going to say that the base difficulty on this will be set to 2. If any of you would like to try and be a little more furtive or like careful about this, then I will ask everybody to give me. Since the stakes are a little bit lower in this case, I'm willing to say control and no, presence would actually be the better one, I think. Presence and security.
Versus my insight and security, correct?
Indeed so.
Do you want me to roll first?
Yes, you may go ahead and roll first. Anyone that wishes to contest may also Would anyone like to roll a presence and security to see whether they have
Yeah,
successfully
sure.
hidden their equipment or anything they
Yeah,
didn't want
sure.
people to see? Yeah. Any other takers here?
How many Andorians are actually on Alpha Centauri?
As far as you know, this is the only one.
Yeah, that sticks out like a sore thumb.
A blue thumb.
Were we all rolling for our ability to hide our stuff?
Correct.
Basically. And this is only for
Okay.
this is only from the one individual here. This is, as far as you know, at least this new individual is not assisting Kent with that in any way. I'll go ahead and roll here for the lieutenant commander. So as far as your insight goes here, there's a slight sense the way that they carry themselves and the way that, if you remember your training, there are some procedures when it comes to infiltration that any Starfleet officer would be aware of. By and large, it seems like many of it's plausible to you that some of those may be followed in this situation and that these people could all be armed. Let's see how Patel does here. Besides that, you would note that some people are more openly carrying a few bits of equipment. The doctor, in particular, seems to have a fair-sized bag, which, or at least the one younger individual here, in a slightly more rumpled type of outfit, I suppose would be the general phrase. I cannot quite recall. How would you describe Dr. Lambeth's outfit, Ben?
Probably well worn, I imagine, because this is just his standard non-uniform outfit that he's just taken out of his suitcase and put on for this. So I think it's probably reasonably clean, but because he would have washed it last time. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, kind of ruggedish-y, like an overcoat. Yeah, like a with spaces to conceal stuff, I guess,
Yep.
but mostly not really obviously, but it's just pockets that he could hide stuff in if he needed to.
Yep. Which would probably make things might be easier to hide a few things for you then. But you do note that this gentleman is carrying a fair-sized bag as fair-sized utility bag as well, which could have any number of bits of equipment. I will say this much: I don't believe anybody has any easily visible external equipment. If anybody would like to correct me on that, then you may do so by all means. Okay? Yeah. Hearing none, is there anything you would like to say before Kent leaves the room here?
Now, am I in the room or am
Yes,
I outside?
you are presently in the room. You were dropped off here just a little ways before they'd come in, essentially.
And I was dropped off here by people who picked me up because.
Well,
what was my backstory to getting?
I had sent a brief message in the Discord a little bit before we started here, so that should give you a slight frame of reference there, and you can be as forthright about that as you wish. But in any case, Kent is going to just look around and say, well, we'll be let you six get acquainted here, and I'll see where we go from here. To which he will turn about and move out of the room.
Before he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kent, do you have some other business to attend to?
He does look over his shoulder, although he's still turned away. Matter of fact, I might have something else that needs doing.
Yeah, well, don't forget about us while you're off doing that.
Oh,
We prefer not to stay here all day long.
certainly not, certainly not. Question is what you're gonna do next and where that goes in the
I'll head over to them and they've seen me and say, "Hey, how are you doing?"
I'm doing just fine, thanks. We're all having a lovely
Another-
time meeting our new friends. How are you?
You're another guest of Mr. Kent?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Who is Mr. Kent?
Mr. Kent is one of the leaders of pro-independent group. They have assured me that they've been non-violent up to this point, but obviously the Tellurite occupation has changed the tenor of. I was
I'm not
reading.
sure if you cut out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't cut off. Kent is one of the leaders of the pro-independence group. They've been nonviolent to this point, but obviously the Tellurite occupation has changed the situation.
I see. I take it Mr. Kent and his compatriots, I suppose, they're not in favor of the Tellarite occupation.
Correct.
Well, that's good. I suppose
They're
that.
they're in favor of planetary independence.
Just not this kind of independence, right? Not
Yeah,
with-
that's not really independent. Tellurite.
How do they feel about Governor Slocum?
I believe they've had a tense relationship with him. I've been off-world booming for a while, but upon my recent return, seems that there are tensions.
So the man who just said that to you, he's fairly tall with long blonde hair. He lets out a sigh, almost something of relief. Uh, he seems to relax a little bit. He looks over at another gentleman. Our player isn't here unfortunately, but he says, Mr. Patel, would you care to have a look around and make sure we're not being monitored?
Well, surveillance equipment isn't exactly my forte, Captain. Really, none of this commando stuff is necessarily, but I might be able to
I
detect
understand. Do your best.
I might be able to run a low frequency EM scan and see if I can determine whether there's any surreptitious equipment or anything here. Maybe even get our position.
Do your best.
Patel will do that, and I will even go so far as to treat that as a direct order on your part, so you can actually roll a single assist die with command and presence.
I will do so.
Okay, let's see
Uh,
here.
oh wait,
And
that's with my security. Well, it would still be a success with my command. So
yeah, your command is higher, so that would definitely work.
yeah.
Okay.
Would you like me to assist?
I might have accepted that, save for the fact that generally speaking, it is a single assist per task here.
That's
But yes, with that, Mr. Patel is going to pull out. This is an older gentleman, you would guess, of South Asian Earth descent, with a slight beard and like very dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Um, Definitely a slightly older gentleman. You'd put him probably somewhere in his late 30s to early 40s. Um, he's going to produce what you would immediately recognize as a Starfleet model scanner. The room appears clear of most mechanical devices, Captain. I would say that this is probably something that hasn't been used in some amount of time.
I understand. Life signs? Anyone nearby?
I'm detecting probably about a dozen human life signs, but they're fairly scattered. There's some, it seems, in an area just a little bit past us, and he reviews over the sensors. Well, it doesn't seem like we'll be getting to them. I've picked up a very slight EM signature with the door. It seems to have been sealed from the outside, Captain.
Sealed how?
Oh. Suggests they've got some sort of electronic lock here.
I'm sure we could find some way to defeat that, he says, looking over at Lieutenant Shira. Should the need arise.
Sure, we can find something to break that.
Everyone is equipped with phase pistols, right?
I
Indeed,
have a way to get you out of here.
Also, I was interested in seeing this newcomer's reaction to seeing a Starfleet issue scanner.
Mhm. Would you?
I want to poker face this for the moment.
Okay.
So,
In that case,
what do you want me to roll?
I think this would be a Captain, an insight and command roll on your part. Base difficulty of 1. However, it is operating
boy.
against the it is operating against Romanov's. I believe control and command would be appropriate to maintain one's try to maintain one's composure in this case. And that is a complication right there. So,
Okay,
Can complications arise in contested roles between players?
what's that?
Can complications arise in contested roles between players?
Oh, that they can. And,
Okay.
this is a good question here. So, for starters there, Captain, how would you like to...
I'm not hiding anything. I don't think. It caught her
Well,
a little bit off guard for sure,
Okay.
and she knows
So-
exactly what she's looking.
Okay.
Yep.
You don't have to go into any further detail than that. I didn't succeed by an awful lot.
Yep.
I
I
think I will
will...
buy off the
Okay.
complication with momentum.
All right. So that will take what Shira accrued from earlier. So yeah, you do pick up that Romanov, there's a glint of recognition in the equipment, and maybe a very slight bit of surprise that at least somebody with Starfleet equipment is here, if not Starfleet in general.
Nice toys.
I think so as well. If you'll forgive my bluntness, who exactly are you? How have you also found yourself in the care of Mr. Roger Kent?
Can I take a look at your scan and just double check there's no listening devices? Or are you pretty confident?
I believe I trust my friend here to make that determination on his own.
Yeah. And
Fair enough.
Patel nods. I'm pretty confident with this equipment. I think that it's a well-made bit of kit, I would say.
I'm ex Starfleet.
Ex Starfleet?
Yeah, ex Starfleet.
Why'd you leave?
They Section 8'd me.
GM, what's Section 8?
Hmm. Well, I can tell you who immediately, the person that would immediately knows that knows what that means.
Right, the doctor.
Yep.
I believe it's medical absence or like a potentially to do with insanity. I don't know if that's or just getting a
That
discharge
is
for medical reasons.
that is accurate. You were indeed correct there.
Ah, I see. I'm sorry to hear that. Did the newcomer give us her name?
Romanov. Alaska.
Dr. Lamb, did you want to say anything?
No, I won't. Question.
Yeah, so you ex Starfleet. How do you end up here then? given like
Well,
half of us are Starfleet? I mean,
my family worked on Alpha Centauri. We fixed boomer ship. That's
Ah.
what I did before I was Starfleet. I grew up.
so you went back home once you were done with Starfleet. Yeah, makes sense.
She nods. There is a way out of here, so I don't know. Do I think? I guess the question for him. I've interacted with Kent a few times. Do I think he's just locking up his troubles right now?
To the extent that you've had contact with him, which is, you've probably seen him a fair bit over the past, I'd probably say the past couple days at this point, given the time frame for when things had to happen. He very much, he will likely very much mean to engage with you again shortly, but he is a man that does like to think out his next move very carefully and takes close counsel with some, who exactly you are uncertain.
Okay, he's assessing all of you, and he asked me to tool the process. He's gonna want to talk to me. He's gonna ask me who you guys are.
Right. Well, you figured out one part of it already.
Does he know who you are?
I'm an extremely talented boomer, and Colin, who has a lot of experience, wrenched stars.
What's a boomer?
Boomers, cargo haulers between the colonies. Slang term out.
Ah.
Shran did warn you there was going to be a lot of slang.
Yeah.
My background's
see.
pretty prove my family's company operated here for 60.
Brian, I will say you are cutting in and out a bit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, let me switch to another wireless channel. Okay, give me 1 sec. I'll
Yeah.
pull it
Okay.
out.
Yeah. As that's going here, give that just one moment, and Patel does say, it is a little unusual, Captain, that they didn't. At this point, I'm willing. Jeez. For recording purposes, indeed for all posterity, I must apologize to the other player to the actual player for this character who has repeatedly broken cover because the GM is unthinking in this case. That is my bad. As far as the audience is concerned, so far as Drone is concerned, and for everyone else. But there it is.
Okay, hopefully that should be better. I switched wireless channels.
That does sound better, yeah.
Okay, that was it right there. Sometimes second better than first one. Okay, could you re-ask that question? Because garble side.
Wait, what was my question?
I think about Barton, and so he's definitely scoping you guys out. Wants to get a feel for who you guys are. He's very
see.
careful in how he, and I don't think he wants this to turn into a hot soon.
There's
So he's
still.
going to ask you about us.
Correct.
And what
But
are you going to tell him, Miss Romanov?
what do you want me to tell him? My loyalties to Earth and Starfleet.
Well, that's good. I was prepared to talk with him frankly about who we are and what our intentions are here. I presume you're aware, Miss Romanov, of the situation here on the surface of Alpha Centauri and in orbit.
Yep. Yes, I am. It's one reason I came here.
Well, it's the reason you came here?
Absolutely. I'm pro-Earth. This needs to be a colony of Earth again. But I understand that they're hesitant at the moment, and that's probably going to be a long-term process.
So how come someone very pro-Earth ended up with a bloke like Mr. Kent? Because he's very not pro-Earth, right?
There's not much of the pro-Earth movement right here is very, very minimal at the moment. The two strong groups are Tellurite, pro-independence, because of out of character. Wasn't the previous governor kind of corrupt?
So, Governor Slocum, there is indeed a lot that had been circulating on the colony about a recent embezzlement scandal, basically. Um,
Yeah.
and that
Look,
for the
Slocum's corrupt,
yeah.
and he has alienated a lot of people to Earth's cause. So there's not going to be, a pro-Earth movement until the situation is diffused and Slocum is held responsible. That would
Well,
be
just as it happens, we are the people who have been charged with bringing Slocum to that responsibility. My name is Captain Anthony Barton. I'm the commanding officer of the SS Aegis.
nice.
We have been charged with recalling, by force if necessary, Governor Slocum.
I would suspect Kent would like to see that happen.
That was my hope as well.
But unfortunately, this is just the first thing that people have found out about what Slocum. And there's probably more. The old saying, there's probably more in the woodpile, right? Old Earth
I
saying.
agree.
So
The nature of his interactions with the Tellarites in orbit has been odd, to say the least. They don't seem like colonial defense forces. They seem more like pirates, to be honest with you.
he knows he's going to lose power. He's probably cut a deal with. That's how
I find
things
that
go.
very likely.
That's how things go out down.
We were on our way to one of the independent news outlets here in New Samarkand, or well, wherever we are, to see if they had any more interesting information about Governor Slocum. We, in making pains to avoid a Tellarite checkpoint, we were brought here, and placed under the care of Mr. Kent.
I think he probably wants to meet with you for real. And GM, do I think Kent is sympathetic to holding Slocum responsible?
You would definitely gather that Kent wants some accountability as far as Slocum goes. The ideal would indeed you're pretty sure that like Kent is obviously a diehard, wants to see an Alpha Centauri independent type. He is going to be he's going to want um, Slocum removed from office, although you'd suspect it would be he would want to see it done as peacefully as possible, so that Alpha Centauri can properly democratically govern itself.
Yeah, Kent wants him removed so that he can start a, self-directed, government establishment. So, in that particular regard, your goal.
GM, would you remind us of our mission directives again for this?
Indeed. So your objectives, as originally supplied to you, were to proceed to Alpha Centauri and assess the strength of the Tellarites and the Centauri Militia. Your attempt to negotiate a peaceful settlement with the Tellarites, or at least make sure that they are aware of that their presence here is considered an act of aggression, avoiding conflict as much as possible, and that past that point, you were, if possible, directed to arrest Governor Slocum and Centauri officials that are supporting his administration. So, in effect, you already accomplished the first part of the objective when the Aegis was in orbit. You had some mixed success already with the second one, at least informing the Tellarites of the situation, but they very much remain an obstacle. Slocum is the one objective that you haven't really been able to engage with.
Right. Okay.
So I think you could build an alliance with Kent, and I would focus on the removal of Cloak as your concurrent. And you might be
Well,
able
that is our primary goal. So
then I'm not telling them anything that jeopardizes you or the people. So he
I will
does not.
say, Ms. Romanov, we are not here to install any pro-Earth governments or anything like that. I am
Going.
here to I am here to carry out the orders as given to me.
I would just throw that right on the table. I think he's going to be quite pro to that, because then you can operate and he can obtain non-violent action, which I believe he does not want.
We are losing you again, Brian.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can adjust again. I've had no problem with Discord. I used it last.
Yeah.
Could you possibly move the microphone that you're using closer to yourself?
Yeah. Let me see if I can. Let me just plug in.
There's also bumping the input
Input
sensitivity up.
sensitivity.
I did. I already bumped it way up. I'm gonna try something else.
Yeah. Well, in this case, let's see.
Okay, is that better?
That was coming through okay. Maybe a little quieter, or rather, it was coming in a little quiet for us, but it was at least clear there. I think that should work. Of course, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if anybody has problems, then I'm sure they will let us know. Yeah. Hearing none there, and oh dear, that's a bit of a spike there.
Brian, you with us? Oh boy. I think Brian may have turned into a Zindian insectoid because
we're getting clicks and pops. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I tried plugging in a headset.
I
I see.
gotcha.
Okay, and I have another one too. Let me
Okay.
try that one.
It sounds pretty decent now.
Yeah. Just be mindful of projection, I suppose, and if the mic is fairly close, then that should hopefully work. But yeah, we can't afford to go too quiet, I suppose. So let us pick up from there. Believe it's been laid out at this point that a direct approach might be feasible with Kent. Let's see here. Does anybody else have?
Well,
go right ahead, please.
in that case, I have two final questions for you. Do you know the location of Governor Slocum, and do you know anything that might have happened to the United Earth Makeup Detachment stationed here in Alpha Centauri?
Test.
Very quiet there, Brian.
Not had it. That's not working any better.
No, it is actually much
It's relatively
quieter
clear.
too.
It's just quiet.
Let me see if output is that. Let me try automate. Okay, is that better?
Still very quiet, but at least clear.
Okay, at least clear. That's all I can get right now.
All right.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Anyway,
So
question.
did you hear my two questions? Kind of shots
Go
in the
ahead.
dark, but
Yes, I believe that he's sympathetic to your mission.
oh no. I asked I asked a couple follow-up questions. Do you know where Governor Slocum is, and do you possibly know where there's a United Earth Mako detachment here on the surface of Alpha Centauri, where they might have gone?
Do I know of any of that stuff, GM?
Um, unfortunately, that would fall outside of your the realm of your information. So far as you would guess, Slocum is holed up in the Capitol building, or the governor's residence, essentially, while the Makos they might still be on base. There's the possibility the Tellarites could have transported them up to one of their ships. In any case, the quick action against them and the basically seizure of their outpost on the planet was probably part of the reason that you decided to go to ground.
Okay, I'll explain that to all the pieces then.
All right. I don't think I have any more questions.
Well, for the rest of you in the room, are there any observations or questions that
Yeah,
you would
there's
want?
one other thing I want to give everybody. I explained being listened in case this goes direction, there's a way out. And because you, in your message to me, GM, there was a alternate way out of that led side, right?
Yeah, you know that you do have a sense of the way this complex is laid out, so you do know at least one way to go should things get hairy for whatever reason.
Okay, I'm gonna map that out for the people so that they have an option.
All right.
Alrighty.
Thanks,
I will
Alaska.
say,
No problem.
I will quickly introduce everyone, I suppose. I'll turn to Dr. Patel and say this is Dr. Kiran Patel. He's my science officer. Point over at the Andorian woman. This is Lieutenant Shira, my tactical officer, my tactical armory officer, Dr. Lambeth, and currently my helm officer, Ensign Wade Conley.
Nice to meet you.
Do you want to try some tequila?
Do you still have the bottle?
Yeah. I assume it hasn't been taken off me by the things, and it may have survived and hopefully survived the fall.
Some more of it did spill out during the fall.
Oh.
You
But
now have
is there
Lieutenant, you
still
still
some
have that
left?
bottle?
you have an eighth of a bottle left.
That's still a few shots.
Yeah, that's a couple.
I haven't had tequila in forever.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
I'll pass you the bottle.
I believe in the interest of, any negotiations about to take place here, it might be best to keep everyone's wits about themselves.
Oh, I'm just gonna take a taste. I won't take it. Inhibit my. Look over at
Alright.
Eula. You're good. Good.
I am.
I didn't even detect any weapons on you. You were the person supposed to.
Yeah. How
I'm
much
just good at keeping alcohol on me.
how much of a swig do you take, Alaska?
Just not even a shot. Just a taste. Wet the palate.
Speaking of weapons, everyone, these people, I don't think there are enemies, but in case things do get hairy, set phase pistols to stun. In the event we need to make a rapid exit.
I think this is. I think Kent is actual ally. So this has.
Yeah.
I understand and I agree with you, but I have to prepare for every eventuality.
Oh, absolutely. Always have an exit. That's why I shared.
So is there like a bolt hole in this room or whatever?
There's a grate that leads to an
Okay. Could our phase pistols potentially punch through the walls?
Good question, GM. Been here for a bit.
Yeah.
Could they punch walls? Have to.
Well, the EM44 that you were carrying would not be able to do that. The phase pistols, if I would say Shira definitely has a sense that maybe if a few of you aimed in the proper position and set to maximum kill, yeah, the phase pistol, the phase pistol's third setting, maximum overkill, that would do it.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
I'll tell them which wall I think would be the best for that base construction.
All right.
Is there anything else anyone wants to do whilst you are on your own for the time being? And I will say that there's the space of a few hours immediately after this interaction where you would be left alone. So if there's any other sort of conversation you want to have, then that moment would, of course, arrive. You could take that as well. Otherwise, I'm willing to say that you pass the time as you wish. Planning or, I don't know, taking the occasional taste of tequila.
I might be listening to music, but I'd also listen to the local news too. What's up?
I don't think Slocum would be, or rather, that Kent would be terribly big on you having a radio right now.
Okay, then I don't have one.
Well,
I shall pull out my harmonica. No. Good old jail blues.
yeah. Well,
All right. Is there anywhere to sit?
there are boxes, and there is the building's floor, which is like it seems to be that least comfortable version of basic carpet that has been well trodden or well pressed down by having things stored on it.
I see.
At
Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna pull out my scanner. What's in the boxes?
um, those that aren't empty appear to have some old-fashioned bits of paper, basically, and maybe
Okay.
a few like plastic-like materials. Whatever they're synthesized from now, since hydrocarbons probably would have been abandoned some ways back.
I see. So paper and plastics. Was there by chance a big a broken down Staples sign above the main door, or
I wouldn't be surprised if whatever version of that company survived past the Third World War rebranded itself for Off-World Logistics and Technical Supplies. There might even be some staples here, but no staplers. For
you're gonna have to
want,
get one or the other? Never
yep,
knows,
for want of a hammer.
right?
You play the blues?
No, that was a joke. Captain Bart
Oh.
does not actually have a harmonica on him.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the harmonicas are all mounted on the walls in his quarters.
Yes.
Uh,
Each one taken from an enemy he has killed.
Yes. I only kill people who play the harmonica.
You play the harmonica.
oh, oh no, we've spoiled the major plot line. Barton is secret mirror universe captain. God damn it, I have to throw
Yes,
out
no,
the entire campaign now.
my mission is to wipe out the Piano Man song. Um,
Campaign plan Delta it is.
Yep.
We're,
We're up to DR. Jesus.
this has been a once per session thing, it seems. But anyway,
We like to keep you on your toes.
yes.
I will. I know that the doc. I've been introduced to him, so I'll chat with. Look, I'm not dock. Okay,
What?
I'm not crazy.
Seemed perfectly all right to me. But my experience around humans is limited, so
Are you what species are you?
Andorian?
Andorian. Okay, so two and
No, just one
No,
Andorian.
just one. Oh, sorry, you were
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah,
well,
you were talking.
Eula is
Yeah,
Eula's
Eula is
a
Andorian.
Andorian. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of us are all humans.
okay, and the dock is an Andorian, correct?
No, the Doctor is human as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you
Human, but from Vega.
mistook the Eula player for Ben, but yes.
Oh, okay. So Ben's the dock.
Yep.
Yeah. The medical doctor, at least.
Patel nods in acknowledgement.
Yes. Dr. Patel is our sciences doctor. Eula is our violence doctor. Yes.
I'm not a doctor. I'm a security.
That's what I said.
Doctor of Violence. It's funny how is that a British accent I'm hearing from an alien and a human?
Yeah,
occur-
I mean,
uh,
definitely British accent for me.
Yeah. Eula may well
I'm from
have
the
that.
British part of Andoria.
Yes.
Patel actually says, it's actually not that strange. I once heard of an Andorian freighter captain that actually spoke in an accent that resembled, oh geez, it was like the old American West. Um, I have never met this person, but I am aware that they are vaguely out there. Somebody at the Academy mentioned it, or, well, in the service. It was interesting.
Well, everyone knows that Queen Elizabeth, the one from the 21st century, she was secretly an Andorian, so it's not that surprising.
Alaska, you wonder distinctly whether you are the one most deserving of the Section 8 right now. Anyway, so discussions abound. Everyone confirming each other's sanity, musical proclivities, what have you. Um,
She listens to 80s, 90s rock, 70s.
If there was any serious discussion about music, you would learn that Captain Barton does play an instrument, but it's not the harmonica. He plays the cello.
Oh,
More of a classical fellow, as opposed
hmm.
to rock.
I will explain my section. Doesn't I encounter alien? In fact, not
You are
conscious.
cutting out hard now.
I shouldn't be cutting out in.
Oh, that was better.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
that
Let me adjust it again. I'm so sorry. I've had no problems with this at all. Let's see. Hopefully that will be better. And is that better?
yes, that is better. Yes.
Okay, great.
So you listen to music from the what's it, the 2080s?
The 1970s through just before the eugenics war. I also like classical.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes, the Beastie Boys, Patel interjects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Need to
As
learn more
That's
about
right.
human
Rock music
culture.
is referred to as classical music. That's right.
Yes. Um, as the uh, as the conversation continues, you do start to hear the sounds of footsteps falling just outside the doorway, and some sort of series of clicks as as the door begins to unlock.
Heads up, people.
A couple of the partisans, one of them at least with their EM44 out, says, well, Mr. Kent would like you to join us just a little ways in here.
Is one of these two one of the ones which accidentally tripped me?
The person that opened the door and does not have their EM44 out is decidedly not making eye contact with you, Shira.
All right, gang, let's go.
If I
So-
go through the door and pass him, I'm gonna just lean over and say, "I'm watching you."
Oh man, I feel like juicing some momentum on that. Give me presence and security to slightly intimidate this man.
Presence and security. There's a 1.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to say for our purposes that because you caught this man off guard, I'm going to give you that momentum.
Yeah.
Make this a D0 type thing. So yeah, you earn one back. You are taken a ways through the area. The light does seem to have gone down a bit outside. You can now discern there are some windows, like in the background, as you enter what appears to be some sort of disused office space. It's a very Spartan type setup. A few tables are set up. It seems probably that some more were stripped away at some point. There were probably computerized systems in place as well, but those also appear to mostly have vanished. The main set of tables there's like effectively one very long table that has been set up kind of near the center of the room. Um, a room which in itself is quite dark, save for some partially active fluorescent lighting systems. That does seem to be where the area is focused. And there appear to be half a dozen individuals in civilian garb. At about the head of that group does appear to be two people you have already encountered. You would, of course, recognize Roger Kent, whom you've interacted with quite a bit. You also recall from the bar one Ms. Alexis Osman, uh, whom you vaguely gathered was somebody in I believe actually there had been somebody had done a search through the New Samarkand Independent, the colony's newspaper, and you had discerned that she was working at the Cochrane Institute. Very specifically, she'd been part of at least one grant team in terms of like ship construction and other such projects. But as you are escorted there appears to be a fair bit of conversation. It's a bit indistinct, but as the door closes behind you, noting that you've entered, Kent is going to hold up a hand and let you approach the table. And so, here are the guests we are here to deal with as well. Suppose now you've all had a little bit of time to acclimate, and or at least our newest individuals. I have to ask, though, first, Alaska, what do you think of them?
They're going to be very honest with you about what they're here to do.
Well,
Did you,
if nothing
did you
else,
hear that?
yes, I did hear that. You were off mute, so we're all good. Kent will smile a little bit at least. It's a thin, like, just sort of, uh, not the sort of smile that would show one's teeth, but nonetheless, show at least a very slight bit of acknowledgement to it.
Let me throw it on
Well,
the table for you. You have some common goals with these individuals, but I think it would be best for them to communicate it to you. And they hid nothing from me, so
well, I'm
there you go,
gonna
Roger.
I'm gonna at least respect people being straightforward. So let's cut to it then. Who are you, and what precisely do you want?
Well, Mr. Kent, I am here under orders to recall, forcibly if necessary, Governor Slocum for crimes against the United Earth government. To that end, my name is Captain Anthony Barton. I'm the commanding officer of the Starfleet vessel Aegis.
The announcement of name and rank, or name, rank, and position does cause maybe a couple members of the group to reel. Some in shock, others that maybe start as shocked and then give a
Before
look to Kent that says like, did you let Starfleet? You let Earth here?
before they have an opportunity to talk amongst themselves. To that end, my orders extend only as far as recalling Governor Slocum. It is not within my purview to install any pro or anti-Earth governments. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here for Slocum.
There's a moment of silence, and Kent again scratches at his beard a little bit.
I'll look over. Roger, I believe them.
So the question of governance, it's not your
Not up
concern
to
even.
me. I'm just I'm just a Starfleet officer. Matters of governance don't pertain to me. My main job is to explore.
We're all doing some fairly strange things these days. Just wish I could
Can't disagree.
persuade you to do as such too. He says, turning off to the side, and you note that there is a figure that is hung back a little bit into the shadows. I'd think at this point, with Earth very clearly here to make their presence known, that Slocum's got to go, and so do the Tellarites, and I think at this point this is enough grounds for you to step in here. The figure steps forward and rejoins, Mr. Kent, my government still views this as an internal Earth matter. And we cannot intervene we cannot intervene until Earth has come to some sort of settlement. And yes, the
I
individuals.
feel an eye roll coming on from Eula.
Yep, that would be appropriate as a Vulcan gentleman steps forward. Captain Barton.
Do I recognize this Vulcan gentleman?
You do not offhand, however, you are vaguely aware that there's a Vulcan diplomatic mission on the planet. And he will go
Ah,
ahead to
yes.
introduce himself, starting with the customary salutation. Peace and long life, Captain. I am.
I
I,
am I versed in the correct protocol there?
um, I think that you would be familiar enough to to know the general response would be live long and prosper, or to at least attempt
Yes.
to mirror the salute. I'm going to say, just for shits and giggles, you can
I do have a
attempt.
focus in diplomacy.
Okay, then I'm going to say give me a difficulty 2 command and presence roll. This is as much to nail that as it is to properly get the salute right.
Okay.
See how
You
practiced
know
Barton
what?
is.
I'm gonna use that one momentum I have and give myself another die, cause hee hee. Um, actually no, I won't. We're pretty bottomed out on momentum. I do have a diplomacy focus, so hopefully that gives me something useful. Command and presence, did you say?
Yes,
Wait. So this is to try to nail the gesture, right?
pretty much.
Would you say that's presence or control?
An interesting pitch. I do think I do think presence is still the appropriate move here.
Actually, yeah. No. Actually, I agree with you. All right.
Yes.
Cool. Yes.
And that will gain you back the momentum, so there will have been no
I didn't
reason for
actually. I decided to not use the
Oh,
momentum.
my mistake. Then in that case, you gain you gain one additional momentum.
Awesome.
But
So I
yes,
do the
you
salute and I respond with "Live long and prosper, Mister
Proconsul Sildon. I am the chief
Sildon."
Soldon. Would be
Soldon. Okay.
yes. Let me assign that momentum real quick. But that would be spelled Soldan, and I will make him visible to all of you. But yes, he's a fair-skinned Vulcan gentleman, near as you can discern, possibly, at least by humanoid comparisons, young-ish to middle age, perhaps. Obviously, Vulcans have a considerable lifespan, even past humans, and it is very difficult to tell. His face is as impassive as you would expect it to be. But yes, as I've already explained to Mr. Kent previously, I could not honor their request to allow our fleets to intervene in this situation. And the present dispute between Earth and Alpha Centauri is an internal matter and not one where we can decide to intervene.
Is Shira grumbling to herself?
Yes.
I see. Um.
He raises an eyebrow at the general vicinity of the Andorian.
Does the consul Soldon appear to notice the grumbling?
I think that would not rise. That probably rose to his notice. Yes. Then again, he probably
Vulcans
clocked
are known for good hearing.
he clocked the Andorian pretty early on.
Right. Consul Soldon, I do apologize for my armory officer. This is Lieutenant Eula Shira. I trust, Lieutenant, that there won't be any provocations between yourself and the good consul.
Oh, none at all.
Good.
Especially since it's all an internal matter.
Indeed, it would not be appropriate for anyone any one external power to intervene in this situation, but even so, it is a matter best tended to by Earth itself.
Consul, I would point out that a how would I word this? I would say that an external power has already involved itself, insofar as the Tellarites. I believe the presence of the Vulcan High Command in this situation could prove to be a welcome balancing factor in any negotiations that will take place between United Earth and the provisional Alpha Centauri government.
Hmm.
My crew and I already traveled here with the intention of speaking with Governor Slocum, and we were turned away by vastly superior Tellarite forces.
Although, Captain, it is true that we have interacted previously on a diplomatic basis with the Tellarites before. Uh, we have found first and foremost that if there is indeed to be proper negotiation, then perhaps a diplomatic mission ought to have been sent to the Tellarite homeworld first in order to best discern that. However, we do not know at this point whether this is in fact an official action by the United Colonies of Tellar, by their official administration, or simply the individual actions of a single admiral. I believe that my government would have made such an inquiry given the status of the Vulcan diplomatic mission here.
I agree, Consul. It is unclear to us as well whether these are the actions of the United Colonies of Tellar or a single admiral. Indeed, the actions of these Tellarites do appear to be more consistent with those of petty thugs, pirates almost.
But if they are here on the basis of an individual government, then the presence of a Vulcan fleet may risk an escalation, one which, if they did indeed direct this action, could ensnare all three powers into a considerable conflict, one that no side would find particularly desirable. If they are not here on that basis, then an attack on such a large force concentration, or any conflict that may risk occurring as a result of miscalculation on their part, may indeed spiral and still produce the same result. At this time, the High Command is undoubtedly unwilling to commit to such an action, particularly where, once again, the heart of this matter derives from a dispute between humanity and one of its extrasolar colonies, thus maintaining that it is indeed an internal matter and one best determined by your own application of force or diplomacy.
In this
That's not the
particular
case. Why are
instance,
you here with these independence movement people?
Lieutenant,
The query is nonetheless a fair one, and very simply, as a diplomatic officer of the High Command, it is my charge to maintain contact with certain non-governmental organizations uh, in order to conduct outreach on behalf of our two peoples, in order to best ensure the stability of the colony, to counsel logic in some situations, and of course to further the mutual interest of all our peoples, to see a peace. Kent at this point interjects here. While the High Command's a bit of the long story short, Captain, I honestly think Soldon's a little bit of a softy for us. He at least bothers to deign our presence from time to time, but as the ambassador, as the consul looks over at Kent with a look that best communicates being mildly perturbed, or about as much as you would expect to ever see from a Vulcan, just the kind of
the raised
nonplussed.
eyebrow.
Yes, the nonplussed look of the dullest of surprises. But anyway,
I see.
yeah.
Consul, are you in regular contact with Governor Slocum then, if you're conducting outreach, as you say?
I do conduct business with, in terms of outreach, with the governor's office as well from time to time. I have not personally
Are you currently in contact with Governor Slocum?
Our last contact was in the previous 2 days, where we sought immediate assurances that, first, the safety and integrity of the consulate would be preserved, and secondly, to establish a channel with the Tellarites in order to ensure that signals between the diplomatic mission and the High Command would be able to be maintained. We have indeed just recently secured such a communication channel.
I see. Consul, would you be open, in lieu of deploying Vulcan military assets to secure the area, would you allow us to make use of your communications channels to get a signal to Earth, if necessary?
He furrows his brow very slightly. Our involvement in that situation it may risk an escalation with the Tellarites, or possibly endanger the safety of the compound. I should, at the very least, before extending any such service, wish to know the precise nature of this message.
Our mission here is to assess the strength of the local Alpha Centauri garrison, the Tellarite forces included, and provide status updates on our position and activities.
Then you would have us become involved in the. You would have us become an active party to a military struggle. One where we would be supplying essentially intelligence information to the Tellarites, or rather, about the Tellarites and the Centauri to the Earth government.
I
Well,
would
how
point out,
about
Consul. Go ahead, Dr. Lambert.
yeah, how about we send a perfectly innocuous message that someone at Earth might interpret as having something to do with our mission to, get numbers on the Tellarites. If we happen to mention like the price of a local loaf of bread, that's maybe, some large numbers, throw around some figures, give some details, and something that no one would ever trace, no one would ever think was about a military involvement. So you'd have a completely you'd have clean hands. Just like a message to a family member, maybe, back on Earth. Would you be able to get something like that through?
He ponders your request, and Barton, if you wanted to add anything there, then by all means. I'm going to give Soldan a
With
roll here.
respect, Consul, I believe you are already involved. You are taking part in surreptitious meetings between, for lack of a better term, partisans. People, almost certainly, the governor would like to see arrested, to bring additional security to his newly installed autocratic regime.
While the use of armament is indeed distasteful, Captain Barton, these people have been non-violent for as long as we have had any contact with this particular organization.
I understand, Consul.
We do hope that it remains this way, but the situation is, of course, outside of our control. That being said, your proposal your proposal to send very simple, basic civilian information on the well-being of these civilians and status of supplies on this planet would not necessarily constitute any particular breach here, and that may be something that could be more easily arranged. Um, at this point, Patel will turn and interject, Captain, um, I may be able to use this if I were able to, of course. He looks both to Soldan and to you as he says this. If I were able to access a comm line with this information, I could probably not only get it out encoded to the Aegis and have them rebroadcast it to Earth, uh, but I might be able to further some exploits, perhaps work with Mr. Crichton and see if we can establish a separate line that would be a little bit clearer. If it comes to conflict, then, well, hopefully it won't get to that point, but we may be able to work out something independent of anyone else just for the, in order to minimize everybody's involvement in any use of force that should come to it. Certainly hoping it never does.
Would that be possible, Consul?
Soldan looks as though he considers it for a moment. The information would indeed be accessible. It would have to be done directly from the diplomatic mission, so I would at least require the company of your other officer here.
Very well.
Um, this point, Kent is saying, well then, while this is all maybe helpful to the future question of as far as how to deal with these Tellarites eventually. It certainly doesn't do away with their fleet, and most importantly, it doesn't help us clear out Slocum, who's the only reason they've got a legitimate claim here. We're still trying to figure out how best to crack that nut, but if we can get people, we might have a contact that can get us through on the inside. Osman says, "Yeah, it's me. We have a little bit more of a pass here. I hate to use it this way. I'm very much in favor of as peaceful route as possible, but you know what, Alexis, it's really fine." Okay, yeah. But as we think we could at least get into the district, it's just going to be a little more dicey to actually manage getting into the capital expressly and getting at Slocum that way. At this point, you may have noticed that I have dropped 2 threat, and I am...
Hold on, I'm gonna be right.
Oh, okay. Let's take a very slight pause here, then. Hello, everyone on the video. You will note we had a very slight time skip. There was a slight issue. The captain will not be able to join us for the rest of the session. However, we are going to finish off with at least some of what we had planned here, and that should, I'm sure all be back together next time. But until then, you will be getting the NPC'd version of Barton. So, the complication plays out, and everybody with a Starfleet communicator starts getting a beep at of their communicator.
Surreptitiously check it.
Forgot to set this thing to silent.
Okay. Is anybody answering?
Is there any way we can tell who's calling us?
Starfleet caller ID.
I don't believe they are set up with that. They've got the flip phone set up without the screen.
It's probably just somebody telling you your insurance has expired. It's
Hopefully
a car's
someone
warranty.
telling us.
But
Okay.
I heard that.
Let's answer.
Okay. Yeah. Shira and Lambeth, you pop open your communicators. Hello, Starforce, are you there? Hello.
Hello, Narth, is it?
Hi, I'm Narth.
Good. Hello, Narth.
Hi. Hey. So listen, I want.
I think Dr. Lambeth just closes the communicator when he hears that.
Yeah, the captain and Commander Patel are both looking like absolutely befuddled at the situation. Hey, I wanted to let you know, Lamash and I, we got talking with the Tellarites. We got a departure window set up. Oh boy, it cost us a fair bit, but we're gonna be able to get you back to your Starforce ship in the next few days. Just let us know when you're ready to go, and we'll definitely get you going.
Thank you, Narth. Just check. Is this a secure channel, Narth?
A what?
I'll hang up.
Yeah.
Bloody heck.
Yeah. Your question hangs in the air and provokes a reaction from everybody save for Soldon, who you can't tell honestly whether it's Vulcan indifference or rather the projected Vulcan calm/indifference, or just the resignation of course this would happen.
Could have shoved him into a warp core.
Oh, god damn it.
Does this mean they know our location?
It means they might know our location. They were tracking communication signals and that. If they were running a proper security outfit. Best not to take any chances.
Right, we got
Or
it.
we take advantage of the fact that we know they're going to be here.
Yeah,
If they have tracked us down, gives us a perfect opportunity to set an ambush. Or leave one of us behind to spill them a little bit of false info.
Or as a distraction to sneak into the capital.
That's a good point. Wade.
Barton, yeah. Barton looks around the bunch and says, well, I certainly, for my first away mission and first command, I'd prefer that my crew not be captured. And certainly this would be difficult with the diplomatic arrangement here, gesturing to Sultan. Indeed, I cannot be present for any such armed incursion in the event that the Tellarites do make a move against this compound. And indeed, I believe that there is a sizable portion of leadership, at least of the new Samarkand branch of your organization, Mr. Kent. Yeah. We're gonna need to scatter up. I can send one of my people with you. He gestures to Barton and basically the player group here. Alaska, actually, you know at least one way to get out of here. So if you want to take them, then you are welcome to do so. He snaps over. He snaps over to one of the partisans. You got? Do you still have that sidearm on you?
Did they give me a sidearm?
There was an EM44 you might have been handed at some point, but if you didn't immediately have it on you, then Kent was going to offer it to you, or offer one to you.
No, but I'll take one now because this could go another direction.
Alrighty.
And I have a way to reach out to you.
Yep.
Do I have a secure Dropbox or something on the planet I can leave him a message?
Yeah, there's some way to reach out. So
okay.
He'll have the partisan hand over an extra EM44, hand it to you, so you are now equipped.
Okay.
Patel and Barton look to each other for a moment. Captain, it's best I go then with Ambassador Soldan, try to piggyback that signal and get what information I can to the Aegis. I will try to reconnect with you as soon as I can, otherwise, I guess with the Ambassador's position, I'll be staying at the diplomatic residence for a while. Yeah, that'll have to do in this case. Good luck, Commander. Mr. Kent, I think it's time we all got going.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that, Kent looks to you, Alaska. Get him out of here. Yeah, get him out of here. We'll all scatter.
Scatter.
Yep. And
I'll take him to the route out.
Yep. And Barton is sure to look around and say, I've already mentioned this twice, but double check, make sure those phase pistols are set to stun. We might need them.
Yep, confirm and
Stun setting.
Set. This was to stun.
Is there a stun setting on the weapon I have?
The EM44 does not have a stun setting.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a lethal weapon, but it is it's a simple sort of directed plasma weapon, basically. So yeah. Since you're proceeding through the area, without having to go through the grate, you do know that there's like sort of a rough map of the corridors that you can take in order to reach the site with the crew, or rather reach the site with the exit. I'll not ask you to roll, but if you want to exchange any casual danger dialogue, then by all means do so.
So what are we doing? Are we just escaping?
Yes.
Pretty
getting
much.
You out of here to safety. That signal's going to bring a response.
Right. So we didn't set up any kind of distraction to sneak into the capital.
Well, at the moment I'll get you guys to the streets where we can blend in, and then we can take it from there.
Where we can blend in.
Yeah, roll in the dirt on the way out. Everybody here's dirty.
I'm not sure that's going to entirely work.
It's not going to work for you, but
No.
can I find on the way out? Can I find like a cloak or something, or like a blanket that the
You-
Andorian could use? The Andorians could use.
You know, your character is kind of wearing like a headscarf type thing, or at least in the token as you supplied to me earlier.
And just to clarify, because I'm still, I'm new to the game,
Yep.
Dr. Lambert is not
Lambeth.
an Andorian. He's a human, right?
Yeah, Dr. Lambeth is human.
Yep. Okay. So I'll hand Eula my headscarf. This should work for the moment.
Yeah. I will put the headscarf on. This doesn't go well with my tank top.
I'll give her my vest as well.
It's not going to cover up the arms.
That's true.
Just any part of the blue skin.
Yeah,
I've got my jacket.
yeah. Ensign Wade has, I'm sure, a overcoat.
Yeah, I believe you described it as dressed to the nines earlier. So would that be like a suit jacket or?
No, that was more in reference to like all the available gear, like puffy winter coats, sweater, undershirt, undervest.
Oh, geez.
Gloves, boots,
as
wool
many
socks.
as many layers between you and the the blue underwear jumpsuit thing that everybody wears in this at this point in the timeline. Okay, so big puffy winter coat then, or are you giving her the sweater? How do you want to...
The coat, because I'm sure it's not that cold.
Yep. So yeah, you're now mostly covered.
And I'll give her some of my gloves too. I'm an engineer. I got gloves, and I got backup gloves.
You're a little bit more loaded than you wanted to be, but you do as you get in here, as you get in through a door into what appears to be a fair-sized surplus cargo area. You feel slightly encumbered, slightly warmer in this setting, but it is something at least you can manage. And you enter into this area. You have a very slight view here, and from double doors near the far end, which Aleska you would know is the exit, a gentleman steps in through them and says, "Man, are you sure that the Tellarites had this correct? I'm not picking up a thing here." And quick insight security to determine whether he sees you. Oh dear, that is a very good roll. He's going to stop that mid-sentence. And I'm going to go ahead and render more of this visible here. Let's see. Yeah, there's no reason to do this. Or rather, go into this much obscuring of the room. So let's go ahead and make this a little more visible for you. But yeah, you see down this area that there is a Centauri, what appears to be one of the Centauri Militia. And the moment he's saying this to somebody slightly off screen, he makes eye contact, begins reaching for his weapon, and he is preparing to engage you. So you do, since I think all of you have your weapons out, the initiative actually starts with you. But suffice to say, you are in combat now.
Oh, who wants to go first?
Our security guy?
Security guy, anyone can go first if they want, but I can just shoot him, yeah.
I've got partial cover, so I'm just going to use that cover and support your shooting.
Yep. I will go ahead and clarify before anybody takes an action here. There are what appear to be cargo pallets. The grating is like a slightly elevated shelf that gives you about probably about 5 feet of cover, um, or a bit less than 2 meters. So generally, probably up to like shoulder length or chest length. So that'll give you some support there. The smaller blue pods that are atop those will probably get you just under 2 meters. The other cover extends up well over that.
Is this a wall here?
Yes, that is meant to represent a wall.
Okay, great. So I'm exploiting that.
Yep. You're kind of just in like the entryway.
Yep.
Or like the.
I'll crouch and take a firing position.
Okay. Anybody else want to get set up?
Yeah, I think I would kind of try and get cover behind this pallet thing over here.
If we just move our thingies, our things. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Yes, you can move your tokens, or at least should be able to. Anybody who can't, please let me know.
Okay, do we need to, like, how much can we move?
I'm going to say, unless you want to make it a task, which that would technically be it would be considered the first person's turn here, more or less. That would require you to, or I'd say that you have like anything in sort of an immediate close range. So like, let's say within like this first pallet here. Maybe not anything like around it would be in excess of that, but something that will get you to cover. So either in this general area or back in the door.
Yeah, I'm assuming that militia guy is in long range, or is it medium?
He would be probably at about medium range here. It matters a little bit less in this situation. He's definitely at a suitable distance to engage with your particle weapons at the very least. Anyway, I believe that Shira was looking to take a quick shot then.
Yes, so I'll use a minor action to aim.
Okay.
I've got the Deadeye Marksman, what's it called? Talent? Yes.
That would be the talent,
which
yes.
says, when a character takes the aim minor action, they reduce the difficulty of their next attack by 1, in addition to the other normal effects of aim.
Okay. And a normal attack roll with a ranged weapon would be control plus security with a difficulty of 2. You now have this reduced to difficulty of 1.
Excellent, good. And I'm using bold security to buy myself an extra dice.
Spectacular. The GM will accept your threat.
And I've got handheld particle weapons as a focus.
Excellent. Oh, you should not have that threat. I should have the threat.
Beautiful. That's a
yes,
4
that is
successes.
4 successes. So that is first and foremost. It is going to give you. That is going to give you 3 success. Well, rather 3 momentum, which very well nearly maxes you out. But that is definitely going to succeed, so you may roll damage against the Centauri Militiamen.
Can I spend a momentum to re-roll those zeros?
Well, if there's no objection from the group.
Do it.
Okay.
Oof. So that is going to be 11 stress that you do there. It is just a hair shy of doing what it needs to in order to inflict 2 non-lethal injuries, but that's still 1, and that is going to stagger him back against the wall here as he, like, struggling to unholster his weapon, falls back to the ground.
Oh, can I then move a bit,
Uh,
or is my minor action?
Your minor
take
action was to aim.
place?
Yeah, you could spend momentum in order to you could spend a momentum to gain an additional minor action, however.
Uh, yeah, I'm fine. Choice was to shoot rather than to scoot, so
Fair enough. So within the like there is a sound of slight footsteps as or rather some hard footsteps hitting the concrete floors of this section as another member of the militia crouches down, such that he has reasonable cover, um, with his own EM44 unholstered, and you were just going to make it out in this area here. He's going to level and try to take a shot back at you. So that will be control plus security. And that is 2 hits there. He will, as he squeezes the trigger, a set of plasma pulses are going to fire off in your direction. Some of them do like spark directly behind you, but a couple do make a couple of them do manage to ring true, catching you in the abdomen. That's he wasn't necessarily going for a lethal blow there, so this isn't immediately like something that will deal a lethal injury, but this is still probably consider, or that's still enough to deal an injury there at 6 stress. So that I would say, let me think exactly on what that would do. Well, first, you do have the option to actually buy off the injury you've taken, either with 2 momentum or 2 threat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. All right. Shall we use momentum?
Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely.
buy off that with
Okay, but that's still going to be a decent chunk of stress there.
Yep.
And the turn order goes back to you. You do hear overhead the booming sound of what you imagine a craft, or like some sort of craft passing very close over the over whatever building you are on.
Is the second guy in line of sight to um as I'm crouched behind this kind of
Yeah, you could
whatever
probably
you called it?
just fire around the corner from this pallet. He is crouched down, so he has a bit of cover. I would give him probably 2 challenge dice worth of cover.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to fire if it's available.
You may certainly do so.
Okay. And that was control and security.
Yes, control and security with a difficulty of 2.
Okay. I'd like to spend momentum for a third dice.
Go right ahead.
Shit.
All right, that is only going to be 1 success. The phase pistol, you try to level your aim and get some hits in that general direction. You find that your aim is just a little bit too high in order to actually make contact with the Centauri gentleman. Between the fact that he's crouched as low as he is, you'd probably like the bolts, or rather the beam basically whizzes right over his head, essentially. So.
Only take your time to aim.
Yeah.
Good call.
As minor.
You can use aim as a minor action, which would allow you to re-roll a dice.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I will grant as a minor action if Shira would like to move to some sort of cover, either using the doorway or something else.
I'll
one of the
hobble
pallets.
over here.
Captain
I think
looks.
is just about a line of sight behind them.
Yep.
Line of sight for the two.
The captain is going to look you over. Got a little toasty there, didn't it, Lieutenant? You doing okay?
Yeah, apparently this jacket which Conley lent me isn't very plasma proof.
Well, when we get back, we'll have to chat with the quartermaster about that, won't we? Back on the back with the other militiamen. Let's see. He is first. We're going to demark that this gentleman is now stunned. I'm going to have him make a quick, just a quick check, as he seems to chatter somewhat indistinctly. And all right, yeah, I'm going to. I did that roll as a difficulty 1 roll, so he is going to burn just a very low. He's going to get me just a little bit of threat back here, but he will not fire at you this round. So the turn goes back to you.
I've got direct line of sight on him.
You do?
That's,
He is
yeah,
slightly.
yeah.
He is still slightly behind cover, but you do have the option to hit him.
Okay, and those canisters aren't anything I have to worry about hitting, right?
As far as you know, they shouldn't be. You vaguely recognize markings that suggest that they are inert compounds, and indeed everything in the auxiliary storage would be. Unless you roll a complication, then
Right.
Well, then that might be a problem for everybody.
Okay, I'd like to spend a momentum on this,
Okay.
if there's no objections.
Go for it.
Okay, so
go
I'm
for it.
rolling 3 dice,
Oh,
controlling,
make sure you take your time to aim.
and I'll aim as well. Does that add an extra die?
So
Or
that
just
in
reduces difficulty, right?
It allows you to re-roll one of the d20s.
well, so that would in most cases. However, I believe that I also gave you an EM44, and I realize that it is not quite correctly marked here. At least for the others, I'll be sure to update that. The EM44, due to the particle drift that comes with a weapon like that, it fires out like a lot of like particle bolts essentially, so it is actually considered an inaccurate weapon. It doesn't actually gain the benefits of an aim action, or aim minor action.
Okay, fair enough. So then I'm just rolling with 1 momentum.
Yep, which will buy a 3rd die there. Shira, if you care to drop one of those.
Yeah, if a 1 will hit this guy, but...
Yep, that'll be 2 successes there, which is enough to hit.
Okay. And then...
Go ahead and roll damage for that.
Okay.
And then I need to roll 2 challenge dice to reflect the cover dice to see how much it will screen. Oh dear, let me... Sometimes it doesn't do that the first time. Okay, so that'll be a resistance of 3. Your bolts from the EM-44 land in the general direction of the area. Some fly, again, just a little bit above the location. Others do make contact with the cargo container. There is a bit of like spray of like sparks and errant bits of metal that make contact probably with his forehead, but you hear like an audible like pained groan as kind of basically a sort of micro shrapnel makes contact with this guy. But that will still do 2 stress worth of damage to him. And I am going to drop a little bit more threat here as this man is hunched down. The door opens and several about 4 rather squat individuals, helmeted and with a glossy sort of some sort of glossy uniform, as well as what appear to be some sort of particle rifles, all join the fray now.
Is that the only way out of here?
Alaska, you do know that there's a sort of mechanical lift further up near the corner that you haven't made your way around to.
There's a lift in the corner.
But as the Tellarites have joined the action, they are now going to take a shot of their own. So that will be a quick... sorry, just make that roll here.
And they came out of this door right here.
That they did.
And the lift is over here.
That they did. And the dice were not actually properly functioning there. Let me give that another go here. Well, still doing the null attribute, but that's at least the correct stats that it's working off of. So, the first of these gentlemen is, we'll say this one here is going to just try to spray in the general direction. The particle bolts that they fire off are going to just impact like right behind you, sending some sparks flying. More of a shock value type thing. I'd say they land nearest to Dr. Lambeth and Romanov, so that's maybe the very slight. You get a little bit of a light show in front of you, but you manage to avoid any serious injury. So the turn order goes back to you. I believe the doctor and the captain still have the ability to go. To which would you prefer? Like to take an action?
Right. So So are there? Sorry, looking at Roll20, are there 4 Tellarites on there as well?
There are indeed.
Okay. I'm not really sure what to do. I can just fire a phase pistol at someone. Maybe run for cover, but I'd appreciate any suggestions.
Well, you are of course the field medic, so.
Yeah. Who's injured?
Me?
How badly?
I lost 6 stress.
Okay.
Or gained 6 stress.
Yeah, I can't remember how.
So, in the player reference folder, I will direct your attention to the ground tasks.
Ground tasks. There we go.
Yep. So, I actually do run this a little bit as a house rule in a sense. There's technically a separate recover task that characters individually are able to perform. A fitness and command type role. However, just to give the medical officer more of an opportunity to work in. I'm prepared to sort of adapt the first aid task, where like beyond just stabilizing an injured character, you can also say supply a bit of I suppose this would be a create advantage type thing, but basically you can go up, perform a I would say daring in medicine is still appropriate for this since you're under fire. But a daring in medicine task, we'll call it difficulty of 2, and if you succeed, then you restore 2 stress automatically plus additional stress for each momentum that you spend. So
Okay.
it's a slight refinement to previous rules that I have made, or previous rolls. Or rather,
Okay,
previous ways I've
that's
won the rule.
cool and makes sense. Is removing a couple of stress better than just shooting people? Like because I will happily remove some stress from you.
What are the effects of stress again?
So the way that stress works is that in combat, that is essentially what you are aiming to inflict on your enemy in order to or foe in order to knock them out. If you exceed 5 stress in a single attack, that actually constitutes an injury, which, depending on the intent, can be either lethal or non-lethal. Either way, when you take an injury, that character is basically sort of knocked out or unable to act until they've been treated. For a lethal injury, if that has not been done within the course of a scene, then that character dies at the end of that. If you sustain 2 injuries, then that will like knock your character unconscious, or in the case of a lethal injury, that will pretty much vaporize the character directly, or yeah, that's essentially auto death. Right. So there, in addition to the 5 stress per injury rule, there is also the possibility that or if your stress is completely reduced to 0, then that is also considered an automatic injury.
Right. So yeah, reducing stress is pretty important since he's our technical guy, or tactical.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll run over and do that. What I also have is I have the first response talent, which is when I attempt the first aid task during combat, I gain a bonus d20. So that would still apply even though we're doing a weird form of first aid?
Yes, I would be prepared to give that to you. Actually, give that to me. Give me the talent just one more time here, just to make sure that I have that down. We may very slightly refine how it works.
Yes, so it's whenever you attempt the first aid task during combat, you gain a bonus d20.
Yes, you will gain the bonus d20.
Yeah.
And
there's also a second thing. Further, you may always succeed at a cost. With each complication you suffer, adding +1 to the difficulty of healing the patient's injury subsequently. But that's not relevant here.
Yes, so I will still permit you to. This is maybe a little more of a creating an advantage thing, but I'm prepared to give you that. I'm prepared to give you that bonus d20 still for that.
And do I get the focus for emergency medicine?
That would qualify, yes.
Okay. Right. 3 dice with focus. I'm happy with that. Okay, I needed 2, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't work.
So you have 2 options here. And go ahead. What were you going to say there?
I was going to say, doesn't his talent allow him to re-roll a d20, or did it just give
it
an
was
extra
bonus.
It added 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have 2 options. first and foremost, resting on the first response option, you may choose to succeed at cost, where you would sustain a complication in treating Shira, and that will make properly healing your injuries later more difficult. Alternatively, you do still have a point of determination that you can spend, and if you want to, you can tap that by either using one of the values that your character has, or you can use a mission directive to justify it. And essentially, the way that works is, you know, let us say that you had something that is vaguely about, I've got healing hands. You would invoke that particular value to say, I am like this is something intrinsic to my character. I will use this ability, this natural skill that I have or inclination to make sure that Shira succeeds. And then by using that, you can re-roll as many dice in your dice pool as you wish.
Okay, so I don't think any of the mission directives would apply here.
Okay.
I've got two values I think might work. All life is precious, but especially your own, and I need to make the most of the life I was given. Could maybe apply here.
Okay. I think
But
I could accept
that's
that.
questionable.
Which one do you feel better about?
I think probably actually I need to make the most of the life I was given, because he's trying to, like, he's putting himself in danger in a way in order to help someone.
I would accept that, so I will allow you to invoke that. Your point of determination is spent, and as one of the effects of this, you may re-roll as many of the dice as you wish. Obviously, you probably want to do the 2 zeros, but if you want to try and re-roll the 1 as well, that is your prerogative.
Okay, so how should
you just go back to you just go to the task roller, adjust it based on however many dice you want to roll, and then just re-roll it, or press the roll command. Oh, and that is...
That's 4 successes.
Yes, that is. So that is going to give you some bonus momentum. First and foremost.
2 more.
Yep. Essentially reclaim.
So then, yeah, that'll take us up to 4. And then it was heal 2 base, and then 1 more for each momentum we spend.
Yes, that is kind of how I'm running the homebrew in this case. So
how much of our 4 momentum do you want to spend to heal?
Oh. Any thoughts from the group? I can tell you that offhand, with that success, you could in principle spend all of the momentum you have after I assign it here. Yeah, that would be for full heal. Otherwise, what you generated would get you most of the way there. Depends on how safe you're feeling, Greg.
Spend 1 momentum. That only leave me 2 short. So that should be all right.
Okay, so we'll spend 1 momentum, and that will leave you with... That will heal 3.
Yep. All right, Craig, if you care to drop that. Yeah. Doc, you pull out your medical kit.
Yep, just like mid-run, unsling the medical bag from his shoulder, start rifling through it, and
yeah. You have a very momentary pause as you try to remember the notes that you furiously reviewed in the transit to Alpha Centauri. Yeah. Thankfully, you're able to recall enough to know that the painkiller you are about to administer might actually inadvertently like induce some sort of allergic reaction, so you supply her with something different.
Nice work, Doctor. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, call me in the morning, and I'll tell you what else you need.
How about slightly
Just a
fewer
temporary solution.
Tellarites?
That's kind of your job to make happen.
Well, I'm game for that.
Yep. Barton, who is crouched like in front of some of the pallets, trying to get a sense of exactly what the situation there is. There's going to be a very there's going to be a definite series of particle bolts that head his way, and thankfully that is a decent amount of cover. So let me roll for. I think that would qualify as 4 points there. So there's going to be some slight sparks and like a bit of explosive forces that something discharges near him, um, that just slightly causes Barton to back up a little bit. Yeah, Doctor of Violence here. Could definitely use the. I think we could definitely use that right now. He's going to take a shot back in the general direction, but it's not aimed quite as well. Or it flies over their heads as. And
Quick question: what are the what's in these containers and stuff again? Specifically, the ones all the Tellarites are crouching next to.
Well, we had only gone so far as to establish that they didn't appear to be inert materials, although if you would like to spend some momentum to create an advantage, then that would be entirely within your purview.
I think at this point we might have to, because we're all going to get shot up here.
Yeah, though it's.
Yeah.
I mean, we were technically ordered to put phase pistols to stun and that kind of stuff. So maybe we technically don't want to be killing these people.
Perhaps
but
what's
they're gonna
inside.
kill us.
Perhaps it's a pressurized form of gas which knocks out Tellarites or something.
Or even just a smoke canister. Like something that's going to generate a cloud of smoke might be good enough for us to run past them.
Yeah. My idea was overcharge a phase pistol for kind of a blinding effect. But same thing.
I also have a crappy pistol, which I could try to turn into a bomb, overload it.
Yeah.
Speaking of crappy pistols, the one Centauri Militia guy that's still left here is going to take a general shot in your direction. Every bolt from his EM44 impacting harmlessly.
Okay, so
If we can incapacitate them non-lethally, that'd be the ideal here. I'd prefer not to escalate, but we need to keep things.
Can I make an engineering roll to assist Eula in how to hit that area and detonate those canisters?
I think that it would be more. I'll tell you what. If you're trying to apply your engineering skills in that sense, it might be more an assessment of the material and force required for what would happen. So it'd probably be an insight and engineering task that would be necessary for that.
Well, if that would assist her, like reduce some target, reduce difficulty numbers, I'd like to do that.
I am prepared to grant you that.
Okay, so that would be insight and what?
That would be insight and engineering, since you are
Okay.
discerning the materials here.
Do you guys want me to spend a momentum on this?
Well,
Yeah.
You're welcome to.
Spending one.
let me think here.
Um,
I suppose this might need to be a separate task as opposed to an assist. So you would actually get to roll multiple d20s for this as opposed to being locked in for the one here.
Okay.
do we have to spend 2 to create the advantage?
You do also need to spend 2 momentum to create the advantage of that being like something pressurized there. So yes, this will take you down some momentum, but you spend it to make it. And then that last one I think was going to the insight and engineering task, which I will say difficulty of that will be 2.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and roll then with 1 momentum spent.
Okay. And that will get you back the 2 momentum there.
And I'll
So-
just call it out, top right of canister, right canister, whatever the position is.
Yep,
I'll call it out to her.
with such and such force. It occurs to you that it will actually probably require 2 people to hit it. Which Barton, as he's trying to retune his phase pistol a little bit, Conley
Barty should spend his value, do one of his values, see if he can suspend.
Oh yes, I can direct you guys with it. Let's see. Follow my lead. I know what I'm doing. That's great.
Crisis management.
Yep.
Yeah.
This
He
definitely
will-
seems like a crisis.
Yeah, he's so Barton, as he to no avail tries to get his phase pistol reset from the after the last discharge. I'll say, Shira, Conley, set your phasers for phase pistols for maximum stun. Did the phaser thing again? I don't know why I did that.
It just sounds cooler.
It does sound cooler, but that's not the point right now. Make your target the container, set for maximum stun, and let's see if we can get that. So he will give you a single d20 boost. One of you may take lead, and the other may assist with control and security. Both of you are indeed rolling with that.
What's your control security like?
I have a control of 10 and a security of 2.
Got control 10, security 5. So I'll take lead. You support. Yeah. Okay, I will spend. Actually, it is a.
So yeah, so you got an extra dice from the commander?
Yes, the captain did roll. Unfortunately, it was a 0, but it was not a complication. So
God damn it, Captain.
you can't blame him. He's being NPC'd right now. That automatically handicaps all characters.
Let's see. Okay. Would I be able to use one of the screw it, I'll just roll. What's the difficulty?
Yeah, definitely use momentum for
difficulty on this task will. I think I'm going to have to mark that up to 3 since you are both trying to hold and sustain a beam at a particular location.
Okay. So I will minor action aim. So my Deadeye marksman, that will reduce difficulty down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
I will use bold security to gain an extra dice.
Spectacular. Ooh, Conley, you want to throw in a single d20 with that?
Of course. Perfect.
Well, You certainly tried, and it was enough to distract the Tellarites, but Shira, dead-eye marksman that she is, uh, manages to perfectly place the beam in such a way that it actually finds a weak point in one of the nearest containers. Um, as it bursts, a wave of compressed gas is going to knock back it's going to disrupt the containers, knock back the Tellarites and the Centauri gentlemen. Uh, as it so happens, were we going for a knockout gas or just a general smoke to obscure their vision? How did you want to play that advantage specifically?
I would say knockout is a suggestion because we have to get to the other side of the room where that lift is.
Yeah.
Without breathing any of the knockout gas in.
Oh, I see. Knockout being something that actually, like a gas that makes them pass out,
Yeah.
and not a knockout from like a concussive hit. Well,
I mean,
if that's the case, then yeah, like anything that can allow us to get by unnoticed.
yeah. How much do we need to spend to do the knockout? How much momentum do we need to spend to
Well,
make the knockout stuff happen?
technically that advantage has already been created, so you don't have to spend
Okay.
anything new. I'm just asking the precise direction that you were taking with that specific advantage.
Yeah. So could we also spend some extra momentum for me to say, oh look, I've got some like gas rebreathers or something that's gonna protect us from the knockout gas? Or that there's like some safety gear on the walls or something?
You know,
Stored in another crate.
I would be prepared to say if you wanted to go with the knockout gas angle, you probably have a stimulant of sorts that is meant to counteract the effects of that. Provided people don't breathe for a hot minute, then.
Oh, we also got free momentum from my shot there, so
Yes, you
five now.
you could spend something. You could spend momentum to have the to find some sort of rebreather equipment or something for like fire control or rather like firefighting, what have you.
I know this area, so I might know where something like that is. You know,
Yeah.
And like
that you
I
just have to
imagine
spend the
if they've
points for it.
containers full of knockout gas, they probably have some kind of respirators in the same place
Probably.
for safety reasons.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, I am going to rule that as the canisters blow, due to the high pressure of it, it's going to be I'm going to roll 6 challenge dice, and I'm going to assign intense and debilitating effects to this. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6. The suit will allow them to resist one of those points of stress, but that is still enough for the rest of them to take some damage, and the poor Centauri gentleman is taking some of that. Oh, and knockback is actually or knockdown is also appropriate since it's a compressed thing. Uh, so as that blows, they are all going to be knocked back. Several are going to be thrown back so hard as to have like some crumpling of their helmets and whatnot, or some might have them knocked off wholesale. As the Tellarites attempt to regain their footing, somewhat alert, they start to breathe in some of the gas, and the noxious qualities of it wind up sedating them, and they fall over very soon afterwards. So effectively, they all take a non-lethal injury from that. As you do this, Was that or did you drop the 2 momentum necessary for the advantage?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then the Romanov is able to direct you to the location of some rebreathers that all of you managed to grab.
Far wall left.
Yep.
Thank you, Romanoff.
And is everybody just making the sprint for the basically the cargo loader thing near the top?
Yeah, making a sprint for the cargo
Yep.
loader.
All right.
Yep.
So the 5 of you make your way out there, and with a quick run past the Tellarites, the rebreather does indeed help you pass.
Just one thing.
Yes.
Can I spend these last 2 momentum to grab a hold of a Tellarite communication device?
I will allow you to do that.
I like that.
Yeah, good call.
Regrettably, well, it is useful to you in the sense that it gives you some sense of what is to come as you approach outside. For as the 5 of you make your way to the point of egress, and as you engage the communicator, you do get the sense of support in position. Squad report. And as you peer outside, or as you breach the outside, you see not only that that there are a few Tellarite shuttles, some in the air, and one that has set down, with further reinforcements rushing towards your position.
Time's ahead.
Yep. Only moments ahead, unfortunately. And
They coming from that landed.
they're landed outside. They have air support. They will very rapidly have you in a dead to rights situation here in just a moment.
We're gonna need a backup plan fast.
Yep,
I
and
have
you'll.
I have a value. Always have an exit plan.
Well, I think that we are going to have to get to that in the next session here. Yeah, since we are right at the 3-hour mark.
Very funny for me that I also have a value called always have an escape plan.
Wow, between you two, we're gonna be just fine. Or at least you two will just be fine.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, having a plan and having the ability to execute that plan are admittedly 2 different things.
Yeah, those are 2 different things for sure.
Yep. All right. So then this is where we are going to go ahead and stop the recording on YouTube. For all of you, I hope that you enjoyed this session and look forward to catching you again here in the archive. And of course, for those of you that can join the live stream, we are running on Saturdays at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But until then, hope you all have a good evening. So,
Thanks for running.
yeah.